it is really important not to flood the country with low-wage immigrants.
Right.
Because if you give a corporation a choice between a low-wage immigrant and a native worker who's going to require, by the way, a native worker of any race, they're going to be forced to pay the native worker more if there's not a pool of low-wage workers to go to. If you want to help a normal person, don't provide a corporation 9 low-wage migrants to compete against them when they're bargaining for wages.
The vice president there talking about something that nobody else wants to talk about. People have been groomed by the left, and I use the word groomed on purpose because the left want you to think that immigration is our strength and that diversity is our strength and that immigrants would never, ever take jobs from hardworking Americans. That would never happen and never has happened. But the truth is that's not the case, especially after Joe Biden let 20 million people into this country illegally in 4 years, the most in a 4-year period in U.S. history. Legal immigration is now a problem, too. And America is one of the only countries on earth with little, if any, limitation on legal immigration into this country. Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt serves on the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's been one of the only people in the Senate to even mention this, that legal immigration could be taking jobs away from American citizens. Senator, it's great to have you back. Good to see you. How big a problem is legal immigration?
It's a serious problem that we better confront. And like you said, not a lot of people want to talk about it, but the time is now. I mean, working folks, the people I grew up with, you know, they had this double whammy, this problem where their jobs were shipped overseas for cheap labor. And as they were looking for new and different jobs, the country was flooded with illegal immigration, right? But also you have a legal immigration problem. Take the H-1B visa program, right? Where people who are well qualified, engineers even, are competing now with foreign workers that are brought in at a cheaper rate. They're more compliant because they're here on a visa. And these are Americans who are qualified to do the job in the OPT program where students are being displaced. So you bring in Chinese students on a visa. There's a tax break actually when they graduate for corporations to hire them as opposed to American students who are graduating. So we've got to get a hold of this. And the vice president's right. This is affecting wages. It's also, by the way, affecting housing.
Right.
Even the Fed has come out that rents are way up because you have 20 million people who are here illegally that were let in a 4-year period of time.
The most in U.S. history. I thought this was unbelievable. So Microsoft fired 5,000 people just recently, but they just approved 2,000 foreign workers using H-1B visas. How many companies, large companies in particular, do you think are doing this? And do you think the White House needs to put a pause on legal immigration until we can sort this out? I mean, that's ridiculous. Shame on Microsoft.
Well, let's use that as an example. That's a classic example. These are American workers who are qualified to do these tech jobs. And the only reason a company like Microsoft is bringing people in to replace those workers is they can pay them a lower wage. And like I said, they're more compliant. Now, that's an interesting program, H-1B. I'm advocating to the Department of Homeland Security. They can, on their own, deal with this H-1B problem, right? This OPT problem. We can deal with this on our own with our current structure where we're not going to have, subsidize these foreign students to come in and displace American students. And you see it in the numbers. Some of the highest unemployment rates are for college grads coming out with engineering degrees.
Right.
We tell people, go learn how to be an engineer. Well, that's not very fair if you're actually having them compete with cheaper foreign labor. And so that Microsoft example, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a classic example of what's happening. It's not because we don't have people who do those jobs. It's just they're bringing in foreign replacement workers who will do it cheaper. And the American worker then has the indignity of actually having to train their replacement for their severance.
Indignity plus maybe $200,000 in student loans in some cases that need to be paid off. I want to talk to you about Mitch McConnell. This is day number 38. He went to the hospital with cardiac arrest. We've got the 911 call. Nobody's seen him. We got this weird photo with his wife a week ago. Now the governor of Kentucky, his home state, is talking about what he's hearing. Take a look.
Well, Mitch McConnell's boss are the people of Kentucky. There are constituents which deserve honesty and transparency. It had been a month before anything had been put out, not even an official statement from Senator McConnell. In fact, I'd gotten 2 calls from different agencies, not state agencies, suggesting he'd passed. So this rampant speculation that was out there, it needed to end. People deserve to know what was going on.
Yeah, Senator, look, I get he might be running for president, but suggesting that he passed away, that's the governor of Kentucky. How do you respond to that? What's going on?
Well, I think Andy Beshear understands that there's no room in the Democrat Party for a Democrat governor like him, who maybe on a normal day might seem like the more moderate version of what Democrats used to be. So I think he's probably starting to play this game now to capture the attention of their base if he's serious.
No, that's fine. And I bring this up because I criticized Joe Biden for 4 years when it comes to health and age. What are you hearing, though?
I've not talked to Senator McConnell. I've not talked to him. I mean, we get reports that he's, recovering, but that's all I know. I don't really have a great answer.
Have you gotten any reports that he's dead?
No, that's not true.
Do you think we are in the middle of a cover-up, Senator? Because this is, I will admit, 38 days. This is very bizarre.
No, look, we got to show up to work. Listen, you're not going to get an argument from me about having us show up to work, and every vote counts when you have a slim majority here in the Senate. But clearly he had an incident there and has had some health issues, and but obviously these votes are going to matter if we get into another reconciliation where it's a simple majority, or we're confirming the president's nominees for attorney general, or DNI, those kinds of things. So every vote's going to matter.
You need that vote. Just quickly, I want to show you a headline. This is the Financial Times today, saying Donald Trump is slipping into an Iran quagmire. Do you agree with that? Is this now a quagmire?
I don't think the president's going to allow that to happen. A lot of people are sort of rooting for us to lose or for a forever war. The president doesn't support either one of those outcomes, and neither do I. The president's been pretty clear about what the objective here is, to make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon. And then if you're going to fire at ships in the Strait, you're going to get fired upon, and that's what's happening right now. But again, I think it creates this space for diplomacy. This is not going to be a situation where it's like another Iraq and we're there and we're stuck there for a decade, or even, I don't support that, and that's not where the president is.
This is day number 143, so I don't think by any definition it's a forever war. But when do we arrive at forever war?
Well, certainly there are no boots on the ground. I don't support that either. We're in a situation right now where we're taking out sort of the arsenal that's attacking ships in the Strait and making sure they can't have a nuclear weapon. So I think we get to a place where we're ensured we have a deal where they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. We have the ability to inspect that, and then that'll be the end of it. But the Iranians have to come to the table. It's very difficult. I would just say this, Rob. It's difficult to negotiate with them because they're having an internal struggle between the hardliners and the more rational actors. And depending on which day it is, that faction is either more involved or the other one's more involved.
That is a great point.
It's proved challenging.
Yeah, Senator, great to see you tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Eric Schmitt, thank you.